Hey everybody, it's Dan with Pain Free You. Today's video is going to be, well, yesterday's video was learning to feel. Today's video is going to be before you feel. And I'll explain that in a minute, but I just really wanted to take a minute to just go through two or three deep breaths. Just breathe in the peace, breathe out the stress. Breathe in the relaxation, breathe out the tension. Breathe in the joy, breathe out the negative emotions. Whatever you want to do, but just kind of breathe a little bit of forced relaxation to kind of slow your body down a little bit, get out of that hunched up shoulder tension. So, yesterday's video was learning to feel, and I hope you guys found some value in that. Today's video is going to be before you feel. So there's a lot of people who are new to this concept of TMS or stress illness or too much stress or mind-body syndrome. And they're still just trying to get a sense as to what is this stuff? What do you mean it's in my head, it's whatever? Or they do understand it, but they're still really, I'll use a really scientific term, they're really sketched out. Emotionally, stress-wise, fight or flight. They've been in stress mode for much of their lives, and they just don't know how to relax. They just have felt scared their entire lives. And I was talking to a lady 2 nights ago, last night, anyway, and she was very afraid of the emotional discovery part of getting better. She's really, that sketches her out, that freaks her out, and because she's had so much trauma in her life, that really scares her. And so, as you know, much of what I talk about and teach in these videos is soothing and getting the mindset that, hey, I don't care about the symptoms because I know my body is okay, and that all stems from the knowledge of what TMS or this mind-body syndrome is, and the acceptance that that's what's causing my symptoms, right? So those concepts are there, but right in the middle there's a process of feeling your emotions. And for anybody who's had a lot of emotional trauma, emotional scarring, a lot of grief, anger, just a feeling of unsafety surrounding emotions, diving headfirst into the emotional discovery can really set us back. It can throw us off course. It can make us question. Sorry, I'm backing up. The wind is really bustling here. So diving headfirst into the emotional discovery can really set off some people. And I want to just encourage you, before you feel, the first and primary thing is to learn and teach yourself how to soothe, how to get yourself out of the stress response, how to get yourself out of fight, flight, or flee, or freeze. Fight, flight, or freeze. Right? That stress response actually impacts our body. A whole bunch of stuff changes in our bodies when we get into that fight or flight response. And so it's really, really important that, especially if you're coming into this process with all sorts of symptoms or one really bad one and you're freaked out and the medical system traumatized you and the your emotional history has traumatized you and you're just really in a bad state, like you're really coming into this process pretty well freaked out about a lot of things in life, and you're completely consumed by your medical health, you've got health anxiety. And this is no fault of your own. This is just kind of what happens sometimes. And even for the people who aren't terribly sketched out by life or freaked out by past traumas, or sometimes I think before you dive into the emotional discovery, let's stick with some of the things that I believe are just as important, if not more so important than feeling your emotions. And that is, gain the knowledge. That knowledge will help you calm down because you'll start to learn that, wow, maybe I'm really not broken physically. acceptance, meaning do the assessments and gain acceptance that I'm actually okay. This TMS stuff, this mind-body stuff, that all applies to me. And so I'm actually okay, I'm not broken. That's a really cool thing to turn down the stress level, right? So before you do any emotional discovery, there's some people who are like, well, I jumped into the journaling and it's not working. And upon discussion, they really don't understand TMS. They're thinking that the journaling is going to fix their spine. And so before you feel, you got to know what TMS is. Spend a little bit of time reading Sarno, Ozanish, Nicole Sachs, Howard Schubner, Dr. David Clark. These are some of the authors out there that have really done a great job of explaining it. If you want a little primer, go to painfreeyou.com. Watch the 20-minute video. It's a lot quicker than reading a book for 6 to 8 to 10 hours. So before you learn, or before you feel, you got to learn. And then once you've learned, there are several self-assessments. Go to the Pain For You group and look for the announcement at the very top of the group. There's several assessments there. You guys should be familiar with them, but if you're not, do them. And that assessment will actually confirm for you that you've got TMS, in which case that will help you turn down the fight or flight and the stress response, because you know that you're actually okay and you're not broken, right? So before you feel, before you do the emotional discovery, those things are really critical. And if you find yourself in a very high anxious state, either through the medicalization and being traumatized by the medical system, telling you all sorts of bad stuff that you're going to need surgery, you're going to be in a wheelchair, and you're all sorts of stuff. If that has sketched you out, the knowledge and the assessment and acceptance should bring that level down. But there's many people who, if they think, number one, I don't know how to feel because it's locked up super tight, that means the repression is really strong. Go watch yesterday's video. I kind of coach you through a couple of things or ways that you can kind of grease the skids a little bit and allow that process to be a little easier. But before you feel, if that feeling process really is scary to you, I will encourage you to jump right to soothing. And that's deep breathing, it's meditation, it is taking walks in nature, it's getting outside, it's sitting in the sunshine, reaffirming to yourself, I am actually safe. All those traumas I experienced as a kid are not happening anymore. And I don't have to live in fear right now because I'm in a pretty safe environment. And look, if you're not in a safe environment, that's another story, and you may want to seek some type of assistance from the appropriate place to get some safety in your life. But for the most part, most of us are safe. And so soothing yourself doesn't just mean learning to breathe deeply and calmly at whatever pace you're doing, or learn to meditate. Those things are wonderful, and they will bring you peace. They will bring you calmness. But if when you're done meditating, your brain is spinning 1,000 miles an hour on all the what if I get sick, what if this happens, what if I never get better, what if this, what if that, what if, the soothing that you do for 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes or even an hour a day is going to be negated if you are spinning those fearful, worrisome, anxious thoughts all day. So it's what you do the rest of the day that matters as well. So find a way to bring yourself comfort and safety. And then the rest of the day, I will talk about, and I'll probably do a whole video on this, but awareness and decision. Become aware of what your thoughts are doing. And if they're leading you down a scary path, make a decision to shift. Place your focus on things that matter, right? And I do talk about the mindset. And the mindset is also something that I would encourage you to try to adopt before you feel, right? So adopt the mindset that because I know it's TMS and I accept completely that I'm not broken, I can take a mindset of, whew, I don't have to worry about this anymore, right? You really don't have to worry about it anymore when you know what TMS is, and that you have it. So then the rest of it is like, mindset is, I really don't care. I'm going to go live my life. I'm going to see how much fun I can have today because I know my body's fine. And I get it. it's a little bit tricky to like start moving again, start regaining your life again, taking it back. There will be times that will kind of, you know, have you questioning your belief. And so if you're questioning your belief, go back to the knowledge and the assessment, right? Just kind of reaffirm, I'm actually okay, I'm good, right? There's the I'm good technique. And so before you dive into emotional discovery and before you feel, it's really important, maybe get the rest of this framework that I'm laying out here down. Knowledge, acceptance, soothing, mindset, right? And focus away from the symptoms. And that matters because of brain science. What we focus on most tends to wire and stay wired. So if you want your brain to let go of the pain or the other symptoms, you can't focus on it all day long, right? And within all this stuff, there becomes a belief. What do you believe? Just had a nice discussion with somebody who absolutely believes their symptoms are TMS, but they've also come up with the belief that because they've had the symptoms for a while, their body's kind of learned them and can't get out of it. Well, the brain can unlearn too, and that's what Dr. Schubner teaches in Unlearn Your Pain. That's what I teach in this neuroplasticity and brain science videos. So I don't believe anything's permanent. I've worked with 67-year-old women who've had pain their entire adult lives and their pain was gone in weeks. Just got a nice email. I posted it yesterday on the success story of my page and group about a 72-year-old woman who had pain through much of her adult life, found Sarno, got better, and then slacked off of, you know, some of the mindset that got her better, and then she went back to having symptoms, and she used what I teach in these videos to get better. So don't create this belief that you're broken because even though you know it's TMS, you won't be able to fix it because it's been around a while. It's kind of hogwash. People can get better. You just really got to convince your brain that you can, and then your brain will. So before you do the emotional discovery, before you feel, especially if you're in a very high state of anxiety, stress, fear, if you've never felt safe in your life, before you dive into the emotional discovery, which can, if you focus on the past, can re-traumatize us. So I'm not of the mindset that that's necessary or useful, especially in the beginning. Now look, there may be some cases where you got to go backwards and unpack some things, but in my opinion, everything else that I just mapped out in this video is way more important than going back and unpacking how your dad beat the crap out of you when you were 5 years old and you were put in the hospital and then nobody came to visit you for 3 days, right? I'm sorry if that triggers anybody, but you wouldn't believe the stories I hear. So my point is, unpacking that experience from 45 years ago may not be what's causing your pain now, right? What was going on at the time your pain started? How about that? If you're going to go backwards, maybe that's a good place to look. Start to connect the dots between, wow, just went through my divorce, selling the family house where I spent my life with my wife and my kid, and wow, there's some really stressful times and, you know, job changes and this and that and everything else, and wow, okay, that makes sense, right? So look for the connections between the onset of symptoms and your emotional world, your stress world. That's important. But I don't think we want to re-traumatize ourselves by visiting the past. So before you feel, try to get some of these other things dialed in. Knowledge, assessment and acceptance, soothing, mindset and focus. Mindset that's I don't care about it. Symptoms don't matter. I'm good. I really don't care if I have symptoms because I know they're benign. They don't hurt me. Well, they hurt physically. They're like, ouch. But you're not damaged. And then shift your focus away from the pain and shift your focus to living your life. Do all that before you feel, before you get into the emotional discovery. I'm almost willing to bet that some people, by having that knowledge and shifting their focus away from the symptoms, some people, that'll be enough to get better. And if it's not, that's okay, then you can dive into the emotional discovery. But I will say many people in the TMS world only focus on journaling about their past and their life traumas, and they don't do any of the other stuff that I've just mapped out, especially the soothing and the mindset and shifting focus away from symptoms. And then they wonder why the emotional discovery process hasn't worked for them yet. So, yesterday, learning to feel. And maybe I should have flipped the order of these videos, but today's topic became very apparent when I started seeing some of the conversations on today's video about learning to feel. And it became really important to say, but before you try to feel, make sure you're not going to re-traumatize yourself and get some of these other aspects done. And again, for somebody who's really, really in a scary place and has really worked themselves into a frenzy, or their life has worked them into a frenzy, not placing the blame on you guys and gals, but if you're really in a high state of anxiety and stress and panic and fear, at least 2 weeks, maybe a month, don't do the emotional discovery. And some people are going to say, that doesn't make sense, Dan, because everybody else is talking about doing this, doing this, doing this, doing the journaling, doing the feeling, doing the emotional discovery. I really think for the people that are in a very high state of stress and anxiety and fear, the emotional discovery is probably the last thing you want to tackle, because what you want to do is really get your knowledge, belief, acceptance, soothing, stress response down, your mindset right. Because guess what? When you have all that stuff dialed in, it's going to be much easier to feel your emotions and not freak yourself out and not cause more trauma. But if you do the tough stuff, which is feeling some emotions and maybe revisiting some things, if you do that first, before you've kind of gained the confidence that you're actually okay and soothe the nervous system, it might be the wrong order. So that's all I'm suggesting here is, before you feel, get this stuff dialed in. Do the emotional discovery last, if you even need to. Because again, I'm willing to bet that there will be some people watching this that can actually make significant progress, if not get completely better, by focusing on those core things that I've just mapped out. So with that, I love you guys and gals. Before you feel, get this stuff figured out. And then if you want to do some emotional discovery, go back to yesterday's video, and that'll kind of teach you how to heal, or learning to heal. So I hope you found this 2-part series. It wasn't even intentional. Hope you found this really useful. And I guess we'll talk to you guys in the next video. Love you very much. Hang tough. It's a very interesting time of the world, and we'll talk to you real soon. Take care. Love you.